This week, Congress passed a stopgap bill to keep the government open, but it's only going to stay open right now until December. So what happens then? Plus, Kamala Harris revealed her economic plan this past week. We want to welcome back in Democratic Congressman Don Beyer of Virginia. He's the senior Democrat on the Joint Economic Committee. Congressman, good to see you again, as always. We start to feel like Chicken Little after a while when we talk about these government shutdown deadlines. And, it was deja vu all over again for the past couple of days. Why do we keep winding up in this place where we know we're going to be?
It is a tragic thing, Tom. It's been since 1996 that we actually passed a budget on time. This year, the Republicans are in charge in the House, and they were only able to pass 5 of the 12 different budget bills. And I'm not sure that the Senate's taken up any of them. So we once again have kicked the can down the road till December 20th. And at that point, all the government leaders, especially in the military or admirals or generals, they don't know what their budget's going to be for the next 12 months. It makes it very difficult to run a government.
But we know December's coming. That much we can say for sure. Are we going to be right back to another one of these, scenarios where we're looking at the end of the calendar year and the government might shut down again?
Yes, and many times we've done that in the week after Christmas, before the end of the year. And occasionally they even kick it into, March. Now, the folks on appropriations, Democrats and Republicans, tell me they will have all the problems worked out because there are compromises that need to happen. And it's been difficult. The Republican majority is so slim in the House, 218 to 214, that if you lose the Freedom Caucus on the right and you lose the moderates on the left, it becomes very difficult to put forward a comprehensive plan.
All right. We mentioned Kamala Harris unveiling her economic plan this past week. As we know, former President Donald Trump has led in many of the polls on the issue of the economy. Harris put out some key parts of her economic plan. They include cutting taxes for working class, increased taxes on corporations and wealthy Americans, expanded entitlement programs, and work to pass a national ban on price gouging for food, $25,000 assistance for first-time home buyers. There have been folks that have looked at this and said, how do you determine what price gouging is? I imagine it's one of those things where if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. But, you're somebody who came from the business community. Is that going to kind of maybe put businesses on alert that the government's going to be deciding where their price point should be?
Yeah, my friend Governor Gilmore mentioned, that he thought price fixing was crazy. Well, I remind him that it was Richard Nixon and Donald Rumsfeld and those folks back there who are working on actual price fixing. We're looking at price gouging, and many states do this already. And they're looking at businesses that have greatly increased their profit margin without being driven by supply or demand. Supply and demand works great, and we need to respect that. So the thought is there'll be relatively few instances. There are some in pharma, though. Remember when EpiPens were costing $600 and $800 after $500 to produce them? That's the kind of thing that Kamala's looking at. And probably more importantly is we saw again this week that inflation is down to 2.1%. Yes, we're adapting to many of the prices that rose during the pandemic, but we're in a much better place right now, and stock market is sitting all-time high.
Congressman, as we mentioned several times this morning, we got a vice presidential debate coming up on Tuesday nights. Now, you served with Governor Walz when he was in Congress. I believe it was Veterans Committee?
It was, and we hung around together on the floor. Very, very good guy. I was excited about him from the beginning.
So over in the Senate, J.D. Vance is, obviously the Republican nominee. I don't know how well you know Senator Vance, but what can you tell us about them as far as their distinct styles?
I think they're very different. They're both from the Midwest. And actually, I was thrilled that Kamala picked Tim because he represents the heartland. But Tim is somebody who's been very close to the people, an enormously popular governor. He's smart, he's funny, he's authentic, a teacher and a coach. And J.D. Vance, I don't know who he was before, but right now it's all about eating cats and dogs in Ohio. He's become an exaggerated mouthpiece for Donald Trump, which I think is pretty sad. And I think it'll be a telling debate. I mean, both of them know how to speak well. But I'm hoping we come away with a real sense of the difference between the two human beings, who they are.
You served as lieutenant governor for the Commonwealth of Virginia. What is the proper role of somebody in that next seat over in relationship to the person who occupies the main chair?
Well, to be as supportive as possible, especially a vice president who's elected on the same ticket. You know, in Virginia, Thomas, you know well, I served with George Allen, who was a Republican, and I was a Democrat, also with Doug Wilder. It's a different role for lieutenant governor. But vice president has to be the one who's out there carrying the president's message, helping in any way he or she can.
And as you watch this, what are you going to be looking for on Tuesday night?
I'm looking forward to really people getting a sense of who Tim Walz is. You know, I think we make our long policy positions and the like, but ultimately people are voting on their gut. On do they think that that person's a leader? Is he likable? Can I trust him? Is he thinking about me and my family? And I think Tim's going to come through really well on that.
All right, Congressman Don Beyer from Virginia, we appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday morning to join us here, and we'll talk to you again soon, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.